Welcome back to the Keri Croft Show. In this episode, I sit down with Mia Santiago. Mia is mama to her sweet boy Silas, wifey to her incredible husband Jaime, and she's also a very talented celebrity hairstylist. During this conversation, Mia vocalizes her childhood trauma, which is a very big deal. There is so much shame and fear around sexual abuse, and it took a ton of courage for Mia to put her experience out there. We also touch on her weight loss journey, how we feel about Ozempic, her anxiety, how she juggles career and personal life, and how she makes everybody out there look so damn fabulous. You know, an episode like this is another reminder to me of how courageous it is to put on headphones and voice your story through a microphone and into the unknown. So to Mia and every other guest out there who's been gracious enough to sit with me, I just want to say thank you again. And I think you're incredibly strong and really badass. You're out there doing the work, and I see you. Now, without further ado, Mia Santiago. There you go. That's the way to start it out. Mia Santiago.
Hello.
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 Welcome to the Keri Croft Show.
Times two.
Times two. Welcome back. Welcome back. Hopefully we'll keep the files.
Shady's back.
You know, it gave us a great rehearsal.
I think so.
You know what I mean?
So. I don't remember anything we talked about.
Now we're all polished and ready to go.
Yeah.
Well, I do remember what we talked about.
Great.
There are some things, though, that we're going to probably talk about today that we didn't talk about then. So maybe it was all meant to be, right?
Uh-huh.
And Kesha, that's a really great way to start out the...
I told you it was a good song.
It's a really good song.
Is it new? I don't know.
And you know what? This is kind of like an anthem for you. Yeah. I like it. Mm-hmm. All right. So Mia and I just came from System of Strength.
I'm so sweaty.
So in case you're seeing a dewy glow and or some sweat, that's what we're doing here. We went to High and Tight.
Am I higher and tighter?
Yeah, girl.
I'm not higher. Yeah.
Girl, you look good.
Tonight, but tighter.
Can we get a minute for High and Tight? For anyone out there, we just gotta, I don't understand why. I mean, there is a line out the door. It's waitlisted constantly, 10 deep.
I'm surprised I got in.
Well,
I know somebody.
Because I pulled some strings.
Right.
Do you know you were 9th on the wait list?
Motherfucker.
Yeah. So High and Tight, for anyone out there who is just in a routine and they're like, I've been running every day and I've been... High and Tight is that motherfucker that will reshape you. So if you have little things that are... you want to cinch your sides a little bit, or you want to tone the bootay. High and Tight is legitimately like you build the house. High and Tight comes in and decorates it and zhuzhes it.
I need the zhuzh.
You know?
Yeah, I've been working on my fitness.
Yeah, girl.
So
we're gonna talk about that too.
Yeah. I'm happy because I haven't done High and Tight in a year. You can tell by my lack of keeping up, but I tried really hard. Some of the things I can't do, but then you just modify.
That's right. So anyone out there who hasn't tried High and Tight, don't sleep on it.
No,
don't sleep.
During the class, you're thinking the whole time, is it over? Is it ending? Mm-hmm. Why am I so sweaty? I had sweat in my eyes so much that I thought I was crying.
Yeah.
But I wasn't.
Yeah, you just go into SOS.
I was thinking about it.
Then you live the rest of your day as a champion.
But I actually feel victorious right now.
You are.
I feel it.
You are.
And also my anxiety's been really bad again the past week. And I've been really sick. So I don't know if it was a combination of not feeling well, not being able to move my body like I normally do. But I have been very anxious and I feel much calmer right now. Yeah. So those lights, the infrared heat, so good. Mm-hmm. I mean, I just feel empowered. So I'm really excited to do it next week. You might feel like a mother effa woman.
And then we have the new crops here too. I mean, it's all the new SOS crop. I mean,
she's going to need one, honey.
You got to get to the studio.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So Mia, you and we met several years ago at the Dress for Success COVID edition, the fashion show.
Oh, yeah.
And I was lucky enough to be sitting in your chair. And then We exchanged Instagram info, and then I just kind of went on with my life. You went on with yours. And it was probably at least a year.
Me.
Well, I didn't ghost you, but we just kind of like, it was like, okay, hit me up. And then, but I always thought about you. You were like camping out in here. And then about a year or two later, I was like, what was her name? What was her name? And it was one of those moments where you have to go back into your Instagram and you have to do the scroll, the creep, and figure it out. It took me a good 45 minutes to find you.
Aww.
And I did.
I was like, I have to soul search that long.
I soul searched a long time.
That. But we were kindred from the start, so it was only meant to happen.
Totally. And so you are a celebrity hairstylist living in Columbus, Ohio, which is like, you're not going to see that every day.
No. But you know what? I really love it.
Yeah.
Like, I love being here now because I was in New York for 15 years. And we have a son, Silas. Yep. And, it's been really great to see him flourish with friends and quote unquote, normal activities, right? Like, I grew up in Ohio, so normal for me is not taking the subway to school.
Yeah.
But that's normal for a New Yorker. You know what I mean? So I'm careful about saying normal.
Yeah.
But that was just a different way of growing up for me. So we're really excited to have him back in a community with, like, we just built a house. And there's kids everywhere all the time. They were out last night hailing the ice cream bus, not an ice cream truck.
There's a bus?
Yeah, Home Dude went in on the truck.
Really?
It's like a bus. Not
What's
truck.
It called? What's the truck called?
I couldn't remember. It said something about shawarma on it, and we were all laughing because we were like, wait a minute, did they sell shawarma and french fries up in that bitch too?
Really?
Yeah, it was a bus. You have to see my video on Instagram, it's funny.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I'll save it, so if you want to post it during this. But and also, that shit was expensive. Like, 2 ice creams, whatever, like Sonic the Hedgehog's.
Yeah.
With a gumball eye, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
$13 for 2.
Of course. I mean, girl, he's got to pay for the gas
on the bus,
the upkeep. Mm-hmm. Wow.
My husband does the mobile detailing, and he was like, I should just slap a new decal on my car and go down.
This is actually a prime moment to give your husband a plug too, because I have gotten my car detailed 3 times now. Mm-hmm. I cannot tell. I tell everyone and anyone that I can possibly tell, if you ever want to get your car done, you have to go to him. He's the best. Absolutely. He sends you pictures during. He's like,
does he?
Oh God, he sends progress pics and like, I could like eat off of the floor of my car.
Yeah. He's so meticulous. You should see my house.
Oh, I'm sure.
He'll be like, the lines in the carpet, he vacuums, not me. Thank God. But he'll call me and be like, did you see my lines?
Yeah.
Did you like them?
Oh my God.
Did you like them vertically or horizontally? I'm like, it's great.
That's amazing.
Everything is great.
So if I'm at home and I'm listening to your podcast, the first thing I would want to know is like, so how did you come up in this industry and how did you score these celebs? And like, what was the evolution of Mia as starting out to where you're all of a sudden getting flown around doing hair for people like celebrities?
Yeah. It's, you know what? I would like to say that I absolutely love what I do. So I think that having as much passion as I do for it, it's because there's a hard balance, between being here, being a mom, being a wife, being this person that has to, saunter off all the time to go do stuff. But it was 2006. I saw a woman named Sally Hershberger on TV. There was a TV show called Sheer Genius. Did you watch that?
Oh yeah.
Where they would like take like hedge trimmers and like have to do a haircut or like something. It was awesome. Excuse me. So I saw her on that show, and I lived in Vegas at the time. And I was saying to one of my friends at a bar, we were drinking, of course, because what else do you do in Vegas? Yeah. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to be a hairstylist and I'm going to move to New York and work for her. And my friends were like, oh, okay, because you're like just going to fly across the country and like do all these things. And I was like, why can't I? So I moved back to Ohio 3 weeks later because ironically, the same school that opened in Vegas is the same owners from the one in Youngstown, Ohio. Like, so random. So my mom was like, well, I think that you should come home and not have to work the whole time and you can like just go back to school. So I was like 26 years old and I moved back to my parents' house and I went back to school, and I felt fortunate for that because I didn't have to wear myself too thin and work,
Yeah.
So I went to school, I graduated. 10 days later I moved to New York. I applied at Sally Hershberger, of course, because that was my dream.
Yeah.
And then, I didn't get the job because, well, I mean, it was crazy. Dream, right? So I worked at a salon for like about 13 months and it was awful. Like so awful that I would call my mom and I would be crying and, just like everyone was so mean. And I am from Ohio, like this Midwest girl that's like, doesn't have any thick skin whatsoever. I earned it. Don't worry. I have thick skin now. I'll tell you to fuck right off. I really will. But
you have a sensitive undertone.
But I've always said I have Ohio heart and now I have New York skin. But like the core of me and like even without that part, like I know when I need to do that, but that is not my exterior at all. You know me, I'm like bubbly and like want to give everybody hugs and like I'm Midwest through and through, but I did develop, I had to, you have to live there. So anyways, I ended up meeting one of Sally Hirschberger's assistants and we became really good friends. We watched football together every Sunday and that's the Midwest in me too. I'm a Browns girl. So we would watch football and
my husband just went swing.
Yeah. Don't worry. The Browns always lose. It was really unfortunate, but I would just drink, Yeah. And I ended up getting laid off from that job that I had, that I hated. And I thought it was over for me and I had to move back home and like whatever. And I ended up getting a job at Sally Hirschberger and I worked there for 14 years.
That's amazing.
So, yeah. It was just, I just really wanted to do it. And then I felt like I'm a loyalist through and through. So when I say that I'm doing something and I'm committed to it, I had a job, I was going to continue to work there. Like I wouldn't have left. So I think that I needed to get pushed out, which was actually really beneficial for me. Because then it gave me more drive to figure out how I was going to succeed. And I feel like I do that in all aspects of my life. Like I'm one of those people that just, I feel like I can do it and I will get it. I'll figure it out. And I like my brain is a constant reel of like business and how to grow and how to flourish. And, I was very dismissive of myself for a while during that and only focused on my career. And moving back to Ohio now has given me some time to be able to focus all of that energy on myself and make changes that I've needed to make that I haven't made. So in a nutshell, that's how I started doing celebrities, was because I worked for Sally Hirschberger, who, if you don't know, is a huge celebrity hairstylist. She put Meg Ryan on the map with that When Harry Met Sally, like gorgeous shag haircut. And, now Sally's an icon. So it was an honor to work there. I'm still very close with them. They're like my family.
Yeah.
I go back and visit almost every time I go to New York. I get my hair cut there still. I get my eyebrows done there. Like,
yeah,
but it was just a really great experience. And then I started working in magazines. And then once you start doing that stuff, people start to know your work ethic and you're good at this, you're good at that. And you get called back for stuff. And then being easy to work with is very important in our industry. So not having a complex or being a diva or having a chip on your shoulder, just very go with the flow. And I'm really good at that.
Yeah.
So it's like this, what I thought about every time I do hair is it's not about me ever. It's about you and how you feel and how the team, like when it comes together as a team, like what they want. So it has nothing to do with me. But I feel like whether you're a celebrity or you're whatever you do in your life, I feel like you're equal when you're in my chair because I want you to feel like a celebrity, whether you are or not.
Yeah.
Like I want you to leave feeling beautiful and empowered and we have great conversations and I want to make it fun. Like it's, you've been in my chair. It's so much more than just a haircut. Mm-hmm. And that's why people are.
It's a good haircut though, I will say.
Well, I learned from the best. So thank you. Thank you.
When did you have a moment though, when you first started to do celebrities where you're like geeking out? You're like, oh my God, I'm actually like, I'm flying here to go do this person's hair. Do you have like a specific moment that you were like?
I mean, I still do.
Yeah.
I still do that. Like I get so excited. I mean, Colin Farrell spoon fed me cake.
Stop it.
You can't, how do you come back from that?
What kind of cake was it?
It was chocolate, bitch. And it was delicious. And I was like, no, thanks. And he was like, no, try it. And I was like, he was awesome and lovely. And like, I really am fortunate to work with I've really had such great experiences. There's only a very, very small few that stand out negatively. But they're people. They're people that are doing their jobs and I know when to talk. I know when to shut up. I know like when to get out of the way, and what they're doing isn't my business. So I always try to give space and be respectful, and like I'm there when you need me, and then I back off when you don't, because I'm not there to like eavesdrop or like be up in your shit.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would never want to be known as that person, you know? So like when certain things happen, I've been with people when like something has come out on the news, and there was like a Me Too movement, you know, one time when I was traveling with somebody, and I was like, I'm going to be in the hallway. You guys, you deal with your business.
You're like, hashtag not me too.
Yeah.
Not me.
No, and the guy was very lovely. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it ended up not panning out, and things, I think they found it to be negative, which was great. But like that moment, like, you know, you're about to go on a talk show and everyone's buzzing around, and you know, I'm not going to sit there and like pry. Like,
You know what? I have a quote. It's one of my favorite quotes ever for those moments. Like, my name's Paul, and that's between y'all.
Yeah.
Like never, like it's like in my back pocket.
Yeah.
That's
I'm a very no drama mama. I think you know that about me too. I'm very much like a dude.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
You know, like I keep out of that.
The fray.
I don't like it. I'm not a good gossip. Like I love the tea bitch. Like I will hear it, and I'm here for it.
Yeah.
But I don't really have much to say. Like I'm a vault. And it's funny because my friends, when I used to live in Vegas, actually that was my nickname.
The vault.
The vault. Because you can tell me anything and I will not tell anybody.
Yeah.
Like it will stay locked up, or really I'll forget.
It's a very actually I wasn't listening.
Yeah. I'm not paying attention to you. No.
No, it's a very important quality.
Yeah, I think so. I think so. Because when you tell me, it is like, unless like you really needed my help, and then I would probably go rogue on you.
So let's go back to what you said about the industry helped build your tough skin.
Sure.
But let's go back further, because I feel like everybody in life, like life helps build the tough skin, unfortunately. So talk to me a little bit about you growing up as a little girl and kind of what has made Mia, good or bad.
Oh God, that's a can of worms.
Let's open it.
Well, you know my worms. So we did talk about it a little last time, and I've never been, I have never really publicly shared, you know, I have some sexual trauma and abuse from being a very little kid, that I still feel like I deal with as a 42-year-old woman. It's hard. It's hard because when you're really little, you don't know you can't protect yourself. And also I was so little, there's some things that I don't remember. So, you know, therapy.
You know, it's
Therapy.
There's so much to unpack with that.
Yeah.
And I think when it's just, can't think of anything more horrible.
Yeah.
Truly. And, I think something like that makes you mistrust. Like there's gotta be some kind of mistrust thread throughout as you grow up, because that's your most vulnerable. That's when you should be protected and be able to trust, and to have that violated at that young age, the arms and legs that has to grow. Yeah. And the protection and the insecurities and the trying to figure the world out, knowing that.
Yeah, but you know what's really crazy is I didn't know that I needed to know that until I was an adult.
Yeah.
You know, when my mom figured it out, and my mom is amazing. You know, she's an incredible, badass, like baller woman. We'll talk about my mom.
Yeah, let's do.
But when she found out, I mean, it was like heads were rolling, you know, like CPS was there, things were going on, like it moved really fast. I was in therapy at 3. You know, so again, this is not something I've ever talked about. It's a really, I'm not going to cry, but I think I'm doing good. But it's, you know, it's hard. It's as I've become more accepting of this piece of me, and, I want to say I'm protective of that little girl. Do you know what I mean? Like, I actually had a conversation with my therapist on Monday about how to start forgiving myself, because I treated myself really poorly for a very long time, and I didn't know how to love myself. And I look back at my 20s and 30s, and you know, the partying and the drinking and the things that didn't serve me. And now that I'm in my 40s and I have done a lot of therapy and a lot of soul searching, self-searching, self-loving, all this stuff, like there's a guilty piece to me that is so sad that I didn't love myself for as long as I needed to, but I do now.
Yeah.
And I take such pride in myself and things like that. And I love myself so much. And I never thought that I would get there, truly, to look in the mirror, and I still see my flaws and things like that. But I look at myself now and I'm like, you're a strong bitch. Like, you protected you when you needed to. And now it's time to shed that skin and let it go. And my therapist the other day told me to talk to old me, like little me, and have a conversation with her. And I haven't done it yet because this was just on Monday, and I really need to hug her.
That like gets me,
Yeah.
like that, just thinking about doing that's like heavy.
It's really heavy, but I didn't do anything wrong.
Well, I was just thinking as you're saying this, sitting here with Sarah Anastasi, that she was just here talking about her late husband taking his own life and her journey back to finding herself. And her therapist, you know, looked at her one day, and the therapist was like, it's not your fault. And she was just like, huh. Like, I didn't even, you know, I needed to hear that. Like, even though cognitively she was not on the Hoover Dam with him, it was not her, you know, she felt like it was her fault. It's that's what we do
Survivor's
to ourselves.
guilt, too.
That's what we do to
Yeah.
ourselves. It's, what did I do wrong? And so you're this little girl who doesn't even know how to process yet, but all this internal inner working is now framing this up that like you've done something shameful or bad. And then it just starts to manifest subconsciously, all because of someone just
Else.
It's just, it's hard to, the trauma that you can inflict on another human being. It's just, and the repercussions that it has. So do you have a time frame when you want to have this talk with your younger self?
It needs to be when I actually have a minute without anyone else around me that I can really put the full energy that I need to into that. He also suggested that I just maybe write to her or, you know, talk to her in a chair, or me, little me, not her, but me, but her. I mean, I don't know. It's, you know, when my son was born was really when this started to manifest inside me again. It brought up a lot of emotions. Like, I tried to watch the Michael Jackson documentary. What was that called? Finding Neverland?
Finding Neverland, I think,
called?
yeah.
And, you know, when you don't remember everything and you only have pieces, it's hard to like really know that this happened with concrete evidence because it's so embedded inside me, right? So for years in therapy, I would be like, well, how do I know? But is it sure? Are you sure? And my actions and the things that I do and the way that I do them is like a telltale sign, right, of this abuse. And I remember studying my son's body and really feeling like a fucking weirdo. Like, I called his doctor and was like, I just studied his body and like I feel like I'm, you know, like that's weird. And when I was watching Finding Neverland, Wade Robson talked about how he studied his children's bodies. And it's a protection thing. It's to know if his armpit turns a different color, or, you know, your elbow looks bruised, or, I mean, anything. It was like I needed to know every single thing I could about him to keep him safe. And I'm not weird. That was like every ounce of me being able to protect my son.
Yeah.
And then when he became 3, it was that moment where I'm like, I was that age when somebody hurt me. And he's so innocent and so vulnerable and so sweet and so trusting. And somebody stole that from me. And, you know, I saw that so much in my son. And, you know, therapy, she goes running back.
Let's go back to your mom, because, you know, I think about you and what you've had to and continue to deal with because of this act or these acts. And then I think about your mom. you know, when you find out that something like that is happening to your baby,
I don't.
the guilt, the anger, what does she continue to go? Like, what do you guys talk about it, or is it something you don't talk about today?
We have talked about it many times. You know, there was a time where I was moving out of Ohio, and I was actually going towards a state where this person lived that did this to me. And my mom was very nervous about like just proximity. And I'm like, they're not going to find me, you know? But we've had very lengthy conversations about how she figured it out and what did I do and how did she know? And, you know, I think the first conversation we had about it, I was 20.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I wasn't young. I do remember going to therapy at 3.
Okay.
Like, I remember weird things. Like, the doctor had really curly hair and she had a maroon chair and there was a bookcase behind her. Like, I remember that part.
Yeah.
So, but like, what did we talk about? I don't know. I mean, I know they had the dolls, you know, I remember the dolls. But you know, my mom telling me about it through her interpretation of like how she found out. I told the neighbor is how she found out.
Oh.
Yeah. But and like also you can't make that shit up at 3.
Right.
You just can't.
You don't have the ability to even understand that unless it happens to you.
No, you can't make that up.
No.
So, you know, because I don't know exactly when it started, but it was around 2.5 or so. And I finally said something at 3. So, you know.
And thank God you did.
Yeah.
You know, thank God you did.
Absolutely.
And something that you said to me in the first time we were sitting down talking about this, because you've struggled with your weight throughout the years. And you had mentioned that there was like a subconscious part of yourself that was like protecting yourself with the weight.
Of course.
And that, I mean, I would never think that on the surface, but like talk through that, because that makes so much sense when you say that.
It was in therapy in like, gosh, when did I go? My best friend committed suicide in 2005. So I was going to therapy based on like that. That was like the first time that I really went as like an active adult to go and start to figure things out, because I was 25 years old and I didn't know what to do. Like I cried for 5 months straight. Well, I was a fucking disaster.
Yeah. Can we have a minute for that? Because, so
that was rough.
If you're able to talk about that.
Yeah.
So your best friend, who you probably talk to all the time. So going back, did you have any, was it a female?
No, it was a guy.
A guy. Were there any signs or?
Oh yeah.
Okay. So there were signs of trouble.
Yeah. He had reached out to me. I lived in Vegas at this time, and he had reached out to me at like 8:00 in the morning, and I answered the phone, and he was like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "Fucking sleeping like a normal. What are you doing?" You know, like I'm sleeping. And he was like, "I just need to talk to you." I'm like, "Okay." So we talked on the phone for like 45 minutes, and he kept telling me that he had to go and that he loved me. And I was like, "Well, where are you going? What do you mean?" And he was like, "I just got to go. I just got to go." And I couldn't, it happened fast and I couldn't figure it out. Like it wasn't the call that I was expecting, of course, because like I didn't, you know what I mean? And he said that there was a note under the bed that I needed to get to his mother. And that's when I was like, the aha moment really happened for me, that I knew something really bad was happening. And he hung up on me. And I kept calling back, and he wouldn't answer. And he lived in Florida and I lived in Vegas, and I didn't know what to do. And so I called the police, and I sent the police to his house, which I don't know anybody's address, by the way. Right. My favorite number is 136. It's always been since I was a little kid. That's a fucking weird number, right?
Where's it come from?
I don't know. Like a license plate I saw one day, and like my childhood best friend and I were like, "That's our favorite number." But now it's like in everything. But 136 is usually like, you know, I'll play it in the lottery, like whatever.
Yeah.
Well, that happened to be his address. And there's always been a part of me that makes me feel like that number was supposed to be my favorite number to save his life this time, because I did. Because the cops came to his house and they found him and they took him to rehab, and it was like a whole to-do. To which he called me back and said, girl, if you ever send cops to my house again, they better be hot. And I was like, I'm going to come through the phone right now. We didn't talk for about 2 years. I think he was really mad at me, but I was okay with that. Like, I slept better at night knowing that he just didn't want to talk to me. Mm-hmm. Like, I would rather have lost a friend that way and just him moved on with his life and maybe never spoken to me again, but still lived his life. And then 2 years later, I was actually in Florida and I was trying to see him, and I was going to go to his house that night. And I went, he ignored me for some reason. And we got really close again, by the way. So he ended up not talking to me while I was in Florida. We never met up. And I went back to Vegas, and I was at work, and my managers at work, I was a server in a restaurant at the time, and we all worked together in Florida. So there was like a big group of us that moved to Vegas. And so they were like, you guys need to find her on the floor. And they came up to get me, and they were like, you got to send all your tables to someone else. And I'm like, oh fuck, am I getting fired? Like, who knows who I told to fuck off? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Right.
And I really thought that like I was getting fired, and they took me down into the office, and they were like, corporate called to find you, and you need to call your friend. And I was like, okay. And now I'm starting to like panic because I know something really bad's going on, and I couldn't figure out what it was. And my phone kept ringing, and I was getting all these voicemails. And so I was in the office, and they told me, hey, we just want to, Jason killed himself. And it was like someone actually like took all of the air out of my body. I just fell on the floor, like just straight down. I got carried out of there by two people. They kind of just like, I was, to say I was a mess is just an understatement. I was not well for a long time.
I can't even imagine. So you're in therapy that's how you started your therapy. And then when did you discover, okay, wait, this is, with
my mom
with
and
the weight
I had,
loss and everything.
Well, my mom and I had talked about when I was 19 or 20, about the situation happening with my, with the trauma of being young. And then when I was in therapy, when Jason passed away, I was talking to my doctor, and a lot of the conversations were more about me than my grief with him. It ended up really going into it. And, weight loss has always been something that's been like my Achilles heel.
Yeah.
I've ebbed and flowed with it for a long time. And then for a while, I think I don't know if I drank or ate my feelings, or if I just was fine being like in the background. I don't know. I don't know. I'm still working on some of this, so it is a little like, but he was telling me, my therapist at the time said that a lot of people that have been through sexual trauma, especially at a very young age, keep weight on to keep people away. And it's funny, when I look at my pattern of weight loss, whenever I start losing weight and someone's like, wow, you look like you're losing weight. Like, you look so pretty. Like, but I'm like, no. And I'll start to put weight back on.
Very interesting.
It's weird. It is. It's so weird.
So, it makes sense.
It does. But now I think through healing and like really going through, like I would like to do what is it? EMDR? But they like do the tapping method.
Okay.
And it's supposed to go back and like heal past trauma and stuff like that. So I'm getting there. I'm not there yet, but I'm talking more about doing this.
Yeah.
And I have an amazing nutrition coach right now who I've been very honest with about everything, and she has dealt with her own things. So she's like the perfect piece to my puzzle. Like, she's a perfect piece to my life puzzle. She's really helped to uncomplicate some things in my mind just by living her own stuff. Mm-hmm. So she's really helped me like figure out the eating thing and why, and just start to fall in love with myself. I mean, that's why I think for the first time in my life, this new journey for me isn't about how much weight I can lose. I could do Ozempic or Wegovy or some shit like that. I could. I'm actually a candidate for it because I'm pre-diabetic. Like I'm like nipping on the heels of pre-diabetes.
Ozempic. Okay, I was going to ask about this anyways, but you just beat me to the punch. So what I was going to ask you, for someone who has kind of struggled with weight their whole life, you're seeing this, I mean, it's running rampant, right? Ozempic, everyone's on it. And I see people even in my own neighborhood where I'm like, okay, I know I know you're doing, but like, again, whatever anybody wants to do.
Absolutely.
I personally, and again, I think it's different situations call for different remedies, right? So if someone is pre-diabetic, or if you have a situation that would warrant Ozempic, I'm not a doctor, I'm not judging any of that. Now, that being said, I do not think that there is a quick fix to weight loss on the regular. So if you're someone who's doing it that probably shouldn't be doing it, and you're just not eating food right now, you probably are going to start eating food again at some point. But whatever, my name's Paul. That's between y'all. But my question is not for me to jump on the Ozempic judgment train, but for how bad does it fuck with your head when you're trying to do this long-term healthy journey, and now you're seeing everybody quote unquote cheating. And they're all getting skinny. How does that screw with your head? How are you not running to get the Ozempic shot?
Because I've done this.
Yeah.
I've done it. I've crash dieted. I lost 60 pounds like 2 years ago I was hungry. Like I was eating like 800 calories a day. I looked quote unquote better in a photo, right? Like, you know what? It was a curse and a blessing. I'll tell you this, because what it did was it motivated me more. Like once I started to get some of the weight off, and especially when my anxiety happened, I had like a whole anxiety meltdown, which I'm happy to talk about. I don't think people talk about it enough, to be honest. But that anxiety disaster that happened to me, where I took myself to the hospital and like I had full body shakes. I was a mess. It came to a point where I really needed to get some help with this anxiety that I didn't understand. So the weight loss that I had done through that program that helped me get the weight off really fast did motivate me to start working out more again, because I felt more agile. You know what I mean? I did gain about 30 of the 60 pounds back that I lost. Which I know a lot of people who've done the same diet and have gained almost all of it or more back. So I felt lucky about that at least I was able to keep my thumb on it so that it didn't go back the other direction, because I was so miserable. Like I looked in the mirror one day and I was like, who the fuck is that? I didn't recognize my own face. So I feel now, fuck the weight loss is how I feel for me. I would like to get there one day. And I think through all of this new change and everything, it's so much more about my health and longevity now that I'm excited about the weight loss at some point, but that's not my motivation anymore. And I think because my motivation changed, that I'll be able to hit and attain my goals.
Okay.
In a very healthy way. My nutritionist right now has me losing a half a pound a week. And it doesn't seem like a lot, and sometimes I get frustrated, but I actually had my husband hide the scale, and I don't know how much I weigh. But my pants are fitting better, and the scale is a number that I don't care about anymore. I'm working on it. Like some days I care, but some days I don't care.
Yeah.
And I have body dysmorphia. So, I'm in therapy for that. Like, she got a lot going on. But, I could look in the mirror one day and be like, damn, bitch, what's up? And then the next day I'll be like, you fatty, like, what's happening? So I'm trying to change my inner dialogue too, and be very mindful of how I speak to myself.
Have you been diagnosed with body dysmorphia?
Yes.
Or do you, like, what did they do to, like, officially? Because I feel like we all have a little bit of that, where I do the same thing. Like, one day I'll look in the mirror and be like, she fine. And then the next day I'm like, oh, I'm not. Like,
I think that we all do that. I think everybody will have those days. But when I lost 60 pounds, for example, I did not physically look in a mirror any smaller to myself at all. It was very weird. Like, I mean, I went from a size 20 to a size 12 and was like, yeah, I don't see it. But I meant it. I wasn't searching for compliments.
Yeah.
It wasn't like, there was nights that I would like be with my husband and we'd have conversations and I'm like, do I look smaller to you? Mm-hmm. And he's like, babe, what? Like, you look like a different person. And I'm like, do I?
Yeah.
But, and I've had it with my best friends and my anybody who really wants to listen to me. And I'll be like, do you think I look smaller?
Mm-hmm.
I say it all the time and I'm actually really working on not doing that. I asked you that today. Mm-hmm. But I'm trying really hard to stop doing that because it's almost like I'm searching for like an affirmation that what I'm doing is right.
Yeah.
And I don't need that from anybody anymore. I really need to find that more so in myself.
Yeah.
So I've been working really hard on just being like, you're doing amazing. Mm-hmm. I'm working out 5 days a week, 4 or 5 days a week. I'm now lifting weights at least twice a week. That's my new thing. I'm back at System of Strength, which which really, really helped change my body last time. And then I love my dancing. Yeah. At Beats Fitness, like
let's take a minute for Beats Fitness.
They have helped really change my life.
So Angie, if you're out there,
I love you so much.
Your little booty shaking, man, it changes.
I want her butt
changes
to be
the
my
world.
Butt.
So Beats is in Powell, and it's an amazing hip hop workout. So and she turns the lights down, and she's got the badass music. I went once, and I will tell you, I know I'm not a great dancer. In my mind, though, I have to be. Like,
sure.
So when I see that I'm not, it's really hard for me. I'm like, I'm not actually a good dancer, but it's so much fun. And I am going to get back there. I need to get back there.
Come for my birthday.
Yeah, I will. I mean, it's a really cool spot. Beats Fitness.
Yeah. But you know what? All of the women that go there too are so welcoming and it's so encouraging, and there's like every body shape, every type. Like, no one feels the way that I have felt, and the way that I perceive the place is no one is felt to be like left out.
Yeah.
Like when you walk in, everyone's like, "Hey, like, oh, it's your first class." The way that I would explain it, and one of my friends did it the other day, and she nailed it. It's like a flash mob.
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh my God, it is a flash mob."
Yeah.
Because you don't know what is happening. Like the first time you're there, like everyone knows what they're doing and everyone's in sync. And then you're like, why?
Right.
What?
It was, it's fun.
Yeah. And I started there a couple times because we met the same day that you and I did.
Yep.
Sorry, my brain just went into something else.
That's okay.
But we met the same day and she got me to come in. And that was like before, like that was like 60 pounds ago.
Yeah. I can see why she has a tribe of people that love her and love to dance with her. I mean, she's got some rhythm, man.
She's amazing. But you know what? She's an incredible human being, and we've become really, really good friends. And I work at the salon with her in Powell, and she's just a kind, caring, talented, compassionate bombshell human. Like
we need to have her on the show.
Yeah, you do.
Come on, girl.
Get over here.
Bring it on. So you mentioned an anxiety attack. And what do you think was like, what was the tipping point for that?
That's a
do
great
you know?
question. No. I think I was just burning the candle at both ends and the middle. And I didn't know how to say no to anything, anywhere, at any time. And that was a huge part of like being in the celebrity business, right? Because the day you say no, you could miss out on like a massive job. And so you become a yes man for everything and anything. And, you're trying so hard to climb this ladder. And then you'll get to a point on the ladder where you can start to say no to some things or whatever. But for the most part, I mean, I work in 3 salons in 3 different states. I, travel all over the United States with my clients, and I'm a mom. I'm a wife. I juggle. I wear all these hats, and I think that I got to the point where I was just wearing too many hats and I couldn't be everything for everyone all the time. And I lost so much focus of myself. And after I went to the hospital and dealt with like all the stuff, like because I mean, this was a buildup for months.
Well, wait, take a minute. So talk about the lead up to what made you go for me to drive myself to the hospital.
Yeah.
So how'd that start, and kind of walk us through?
Okay. So for about, I would say 6 to 8 months, I was complaining about this like pain in my chest, and it was like a dull pressure. And then some days it felt like fluttering butterflies all day long. Just like these, like all over.
And were you also feeling a lot of movement in the brain?
No.
Like, so not, you didn't
No,
feel
it was
anxious.
like a really body thing.
Okay.
And I kept going to the doctor and being like, something's wrong with my chest. Something's wrong with my arm. Like, it was like a spiral kind of thing. But it was like, I just felt like pressure all day, no matter where or what I was doing all day. And my friends would be like, that's anxiety. I'm like, yeah, but I don't feel anxious. You know, like, to me, anxious always was like, you know, you're anxious to like take a test where you're nervous and like whatever. But I didn't feel nervous. I just felt off, you know, like I just felt pressure. So I was at a client's house and I just got her ready, and she's a very, very dear client. I love her. She's one of my favorites. And I had just gotten her ready for a big Glamour magazine, like Woman of the Year event. And she looked stunning, and off she went. And as soon as she walked out, I said to the makeup artist, like, I'm spinning. And she's like, well, go sit down. I'm like, okay. And the woman's assistant came and she brought me something to eat and something to drink. And I sat outside and I was shaking and I couldn't stop shaking. And I think that day specifically, I had to get 3 people ready for this event. And I was running from like place to place, and like, I never want to be late for anybody, and I don't want anybody to be upset. And, you know, I just like, I think I just broke at the end of the day of just so much stress that I really put on myself. So that night I ended up going back to my friend's house that I was staying with in New York. This was like, again, after about 6 or 8 months of me like having all these feelings. And I told her, I was like, I was terrified. You know what I mean? I was calling my best friend here and I didn't know what to do. And she's a nurse, and she was like, I keep telling you, you have anxiety. You have anxiety. You need to get your anxiety under control. But I didn't understand what it meant. Like, was it a pill? Was it you know? And my doctor had said, take this, you know, medicine and it'll help you. And like, I'm kind of scared of pills. So it takes me a long time to do it. And apparently my therapist says that this has been 3 years in the making. But to me, it was like 8 months. So when it happened, when I finally had my, like, I have to go to the hospital moment, was about a week after this experience with like being at a client's house and being dizzy and shaking for hours. And I was at the salon and I was cutting somebody's hair, and I had to keep stopping because I was shaking so bad. And I kept like getting up and going outside, and I came back in and I was like, I'm so sorry, but like, I have to go to the hospital. My resting heart rate was like 118 when I got to the hospital. I mean, I hadn't done anything. I was full body shakes, sweating, like just a mess. And they did an EKG and they did all the things and they did a CAT scan. There's nothing wrong with me, right? So I called my therapist, who I've been with for a very long time. And we started talking about 5 days a week at this point. And I took the entire month of December off of work. I had to pause my life because I was out of control. And he said, I remember, this is going to be the best thing that ever happened to you. And I didn't believe that at the time, because I felt that time was so hard for me. I felt like a shell of myself because I'm so full of energy and life and love and passion and all these things. And like, I didn't want to get out of bed. I didn't want to like wake up. I didn't want to love on my kid. I didn't want to do anything. And exercise is what saved me, because I really, really leaned into it. Like I am so headstrong. It's because I'm a Taurus. Yeah. But when I'm faced against an obstacle, I'm going to figure it out. And I didn't want medicine to just be this quick fix, right? So once I started to feel a little bit better and the medicine started to work, which did take about a month to kick in and whatever, during that time, I wasn't going to lay there idly and just wallow in this. I was like, I don't run, like, unless you're chasing me, and I might still not run. I don't know. but because of the sensation that I had in my chest, my brain was like, go jogging, because then you're going to burn in your lungs and it'll kind of numb that feeling. Right? Like
Yeah.
it'll just be like heavy breathing and like burning in your chest from all that air. And I started doing that. Like there was times like my husband, I would look at him and be like, I'm going to go run. And he'd be like, okay. And it was like 11 o'clock at night. And I'm scared. And I'm like, will you follow me in the car? And he would get behind me and drive in the car so that I could just go run.
Shout out to this man.
You
He's a
know.
good dude.
You want to talk about crying over somebody?
He's a good looking dude too. he's a handsome one.
Thank you. He is. I hit the motherfucking jackpot with this guy. And you know I've loved him since I was 19.
You were gonna make him yours.
Again, a very, very, very determined woman. He is my soulmate. He is my best friend. He's it for me.
I mean, the fact that he got in the car and like followed you, I mean, that is like, it's really like, it's giving me some imagery here. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, he held me through all of this. Like when I would have anxiety, I would get panic attacks in the middle of the night that would wake me up. And I would be really, really scared. And I started to feel bad because I was like waking him up every night, you know? And I would sit on the floor and do that like grounding method that they tell you about. And he would hear me get up and I would take the medicine and I would sit on the floor and I would cry and I would, you know, and I would just feel his arm like come around and he would just put his arm on my chest. And like the pressure of his warm hand on my chest was like, I'm going to be okay. Like he's right here and I'm fine. And I would be able to like talk to myself. And you know, when he would see me having a panic attack, he would come running with ice cubes and I would sit with ice in my hands on the floor. And, you know, he would just be like, we're going to do this. Like, you're good. He is the greatest person I know.
I love it.
And I can't believe he's my husband, you know?
He sure is.
He sure is. And he's, you know, I say to him sometimes, I'm like, I hope that you love me as much as I love you, because I think that you do by all the things that you do for me. But like, I love you so much that I can't imagine somebody loving me back as much as I love you.
Well, I think that, you know, hearing the way that he is with you, I mean, how could you, have any doubt?
I don't, but it's just like, it's hard to fathom, you know, it's like your kid, right? You can't expect your kid to love you as much as you love them. And it's with my husband. Like I can't be more grateful for him.
It doesn't come around every day either.
I don't cook, girl. He cooks, he cleans, he's hot. Like I mean,
he's all that.
In a bag of chips, honey.
And so are you.
Thanks.
So and again, this is just,
I'm working on it.
You know, it's like no matter who it is, when you peel the onion, we're all just in this life experience trying to figure it out. And we've all been given a hand of cards. And you have zero control over the hand of cards and you just have to play them and you just have to do your best.
Right. But with the cards, I would like to say you get smart and you can do strategies. So you don't always have to fold. You know what I mean?
100%.
And I think that like I finally learned how to play my hand. Yeah. I'm learning. I'm really learning. And I actually sent a message to my therapist in September of this year. And I said, I think I'm falling in love with myself. And it was on September 21st that I sent that message. And it was just like a light switch flipped on. And there I was looking at myself with compassion and kindness instead of criticism.
Yeah.
And, you know, there's a piece of criticism that's still there, but I'm learning how to quiet her.
Yeah, 100% there's always going to be sort of the angel and the devil somewhere lurking, you know, but it's more what you give focus and light to. So the more you're focusing on the angel side and, you know, less than the devil side, the better off you are. But it's always a balancing act of sorts.
And I think though that criticizing voice, you know, what I'm learning even with my nutritionist is that criticizing voice was actually trying to protect me at some point in my life. And, I need to learn how to thank that piece of me so that I can continue to move on.
Yeah.
Which is what I'm working really hard on. Like I work really hard on myself right now.
Good. You
Because
deserve
I
it.
feel like I pour all of me into so much other stuff, hair and my kid and my husband and, my career first and foremost, I think has really been where I've put the most of myself. And, at the end of the day, I can't take that with me.
Right.
So it's like, that's the piece.
Speaking of doing things for others, let's talk about my hair. So you mentioned to me before we wrap up, because we have a couple minutes. So I told you I want to chop my hair off. Now I do. I love, if I could rock a short hairdo, like I think it's so sexy.
You're hot. You can.
I don't know that I could. So, but then you said something about you believe that like cutting hair could be attached to trauma.
I do.
So you think that like if we cut all my hair off, that my trauma will be like reshifted?
No. Yeah, sure. No, I don't know. I just feel like, think about how old your hair is, right? At the end, when you have like long hair. I mean, this end piece of your hair is probably
90.
Yeah, 100. Yeah, absolutely. Is probably 8 years old, 7 years old, right? So your hair's full of secrets. No, you have, but
there's some secrets in this hair.
I'm sure. But I feel like there's a lot of things that are attached to hair and the way that it makes you feel, right? And I not too long ago had a woman come in who was going through a divorce and her hair was super long, like down to like past her navel, like really long hair. And she was like, I just need to cut off all the memories.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit. I never really stopped to think about that. And then she left like a new person, like lighter, and just like she started crying. I started crying, hard ass New Yorker.
Oh yeah. Right.
But we're both crying because she just felt so transformed. And I got to do that for her. And just the confidence in which someone for a really long time made her feel really bad about herself. And it was like in that moment when she cut off all her hair, like a new person started to emerge right in front of my eyes. It was a really beautiful thing to see. I think that, there's so much attached to your hair. Like,
well, you
and
I
have
are
a shitty hair day, you're going to have a badass day.
You're right. You and I are going to figure this hair thing out.
Chop it like
But for now,
chop it like it's hot.
Chop it like it's hot. Chop it like it's hot. That's actually funny.
I'm hilarious.
You actually are. I'm funny. Just ask me. Mia.
Queen.
I mean, per usual, it's just been a pleasure. Now, where can these, fancy people out there who want to get a hair transformation, where can they find you?
Well, what city? Just kidding. You
wherever.
can find me on Instagram at Mia Santiago Hair, which is probably the easiest way because then I can send out all my information.
Okay, girl. Well, thank you for your transparency and for opening up and your vulnerability.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
I'm convinced that someone out there needs to hear what you said. So thank you so much.
And I'm always open for a chat on Instagram. A lot of people reached out to me about the anxiety piece and life piece and now maybe with this trauma piece, who knows?
Yeah. All right, guys. So
I'm here for you.
Yeah. Oh my God. Yeah, she's hair for you. She's hair for you. All right, guys, please continue to follow me on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple. And you know what? If you like what you're hearing and you feel so inclined, maybe send an episode or two to a friend today. It would just make me so freaking happy.
And follow Mia Santiago Hair on Instagram.
That's right, Booze. Have a good day. And until next time, keep moving.